What's happening is the 15th of November. What is today? It is a Tyson fight. That's what is today. I haven't seen one of those for so stinking long. I remember watching him when I was a kid. He had to be in his debut, if I remember correctly. I remember watching. I was sitting in my aunt's place in St. John's, Arizona, I believe. And from then on, I was watching all the Tyson fights I could. Always go down to Hooters, order their wings, which really sucked, but they at least had the fights on, so I was able to see the fights on to pay for it. Till things got a little bit later, and in the late '90s and early 2000s, we was always ordering the fights, and so it was awesome. Now we get to see it again. Actually met the dude, got pictures with him, shared the stage with him at an event. It's got to be a few years ago. I spoke just before he came up, so kind of cool. So let's look at what's going on in the economy. We had some information come out this week with respect to inflation, and it's saying the CPI was looking pretty good. It was coming down according to what the Fed is. We know that that's also a very, very bullshit number that they're using, but it's also still showing that we're looking, probably somewhere in the 3.5-ish% as far as year over year inflation. Inflation's still going up. They're showing numbers or within line with they anticipated, but it's still going up. There's still costs are still increasing. But then you look at the producer price index; they're increasing faster than anticipated, and that will slowly start working its way back into the consumer price index. Therefore, inflation continue to go up. So the market's actually running hotter than what they anticipated, which had been good for stocks, especially these last few days. But now it's flipped back around. Stocks are actually kind of taking on the chin, but still money's leaving it altogether. There's worries because there's money leaving bonds as well. So that's very, very interesting. And I think still, until we get control, get our arms wrapped around what's going on with the government and their spending, because that's one of the reasons they're shorting the bonds, because we have such a big deficit in the country. We owe so much as a country. We look at the debt clock. We're punching somewhere in the range of I think $36 trillion. I think we probably broke over 36 trillion overnight. It's probably closer to 37, well, on our way to 37 trillion. That's a lot. So if we're taking in $4.9 trillion in income, $7 trillion in spending, so we have that massive deficit. That's where we're upside down, is that gap right there. So it's $2.1 trillion gap, basically, ish. Probably maybe not that quite that much. But then we've got, because of that, the Fed's going to throw out there some treasuries. It's going to get bought up, hopefully. Now they owe that because they need that money to operate. They are not operating within the budget that they have, the amount of money that's coming in, because, like Elon Musk said, we have nearly 300 government agencies when we should be running at 99. So I'm really interested to watch this whole thing play out. And I know they tried that before. And they said, we did this before, but it has to be agreed to by Congress and the Senate. But now they're going to put it out on social. X is going to have that just displayed everywhere. And that's probably one of the reasons they've been bitching about getting government oversight on social, because they didn't want this. Now they're going to have it. And we're, as the people, are going to be able to see it. We can call bullshit out on it, contact our senators, contact our congressmen, and raise all kinds of hell about what's going on. So back to the numbers, though. If you're talking about that kind of a debt, and they've been having this debt piling up because of that spending deficit, right? Putting on the big international credit card, if you will, they got to the $36 trillion of debt. So if we're breaking that down to a family-sized deal, and this is, I think we talked about this before, you got $49,000 in income, let's just say it as an individual, you're spending $70,000 a year with your 49,000 income. You got to do something with that. But over a period of time, you keep stacking it up on the big credit card. And you realize I'm $360,000 in debt, or $36 trillion, right? 360,000 as an individual. That's what your debt is. I'm going to stop this madness and cut my costs way back. Well, if you put that on a 30-year amortization at today's rates of, say, 6.99% is what you'd be close to on a single family if you're buying a house to live in. You're talking about $28,000 per year in principal and interest to pay that off in 30 years. That's literally 60% of your income is where you have to be. So you have to get yourself down to 40% of your actual take home as far as your monthly expenses to live. That kind of falls in line with a ratio as far as our ratios are concerned, because those ratios that we have, the 40 whatever percent of your income to have to work off of, you have to, not only figure out debt, but your taxes. That's why your ratios have to be so low. But if you figure out where you're at in your spending, that's 30% of your spending. That's where you have to be at with what that monthly nut is just to pay the bill on it. So got to get your spending down to 30% of your current spending is 42% of your total income just to be able to pay the debt off in 30 years. Then you open back up and you can do some shit, but you'll have better discipline. So here's the problem. Our next administration is only 4 freaking years. If they do what they say they're going to do, which I pray they do, hopefully sets us on a track. So here's hoping. I can only just comment on it. So let's see what we got in the bonds. I want to share this stuff with you guys so you can see where we're at. A little bit of share screen going on here. So this is our mortgage-backed securities, of course, which we're always talking about. And I'm following the 5.5. There are people right now looking at the 6.0. They may criticize me for looking at the 5.5, but this is the one I have a little bit more of an intimate history with, just watching and being able to gauge what's happening. So today we've seen some negative movement, as we were talking about before, and bounced off of this channel. So we've drawn this channel out. We've come out of it because of what's happened in the market, and bam, we hit below it. Or hit into it below our current line of support. This support's been here a bit. Well, we're below that support. Hopefully we get above it and it holds. If not, we got a ways to go. It could drop down in here, and then we'll have another drop down in here. This is where we're going to have, I think, some really, really strong support to come back up. But that could mean higher interest rates going forward. If it does not get up here and hold into that level and start playing sideways in this. That's just where I think we're going to end up at. But as you can see, go all the way back quite a ways. If we played in this area, these are our ceilings. This is as low as the rates are going to be, I believe. Well, you want to lower the interest rates. If you really, 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 really want to lower the freaking interest rates, want to see things get better, I've got to solve that happen really, really quick, personally, actually, if we want to get down to it. Trump, if you're listening, I'll jump in there to FHFA. If we need to let's get that place figured out. Not that I'm trying to poke the bear here, but there's a significant chunk of capital comes out, goes to the FHFA for their oversight of Fannie and Freddie. Now, oversight, putting in conservatorship the way that they have is so they can get back on track, because they were on the verge of bankruptcy at one point after 2008. They've been positive for a long time, but now you got a government oversight organization that's adding a piece to it. Every time you close the loan, you're paying them. If we can get that place figured out, get them out of conservatorship, operating on their own, good, solid, intelligent people in there that know the street. I think that's one of the biggest problems with a lot of the bigger organizations, and also those who are in oversight. They never were here on this level interacting with you. They've been doing it from a theoretical level and from an education level, not from a ground level to use the word again. So we figure that place out, get them turned loose, get them where they're operating where they should be. That would save, I don't know, 0.5% or so in interest rate, is I'm guessing at. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. It'd be worth running an exercise on it. But that'd be a place where one could start if they want to help housing, help interest rates, right there. I'm available if anyone wants to talk about it. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Enjoy the fight.